All right, everybody. We are here. Welcome. It takes a minute, as you guys know, to catch up. So I'm going to make sure that everyone can hear me nice and clearly. Oh, beautiful. All right, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello from Kalina and myself. We are live on a Monday evening, the 28th of January. For our January and December Patreon poll in-depth sessions, which means that Aridif will talk in depth about these two subjects, and then after he's done talking, Kalina will kind of reflect on what she heard, give her ideas, give questions to Aridif to expand on those comments, and we'll go from there. Normally, we only do one subject at a time, but because of December, everything got crazy at the end of the month, and we weren't able to do it. We are catching up. Also, we are going to be catching up with the monthly webinar Q&As. So we're going to do it one of two ways. Most likely, tomorrow we're going to broadcast two different broadcasts, Q&A live. Not live Q&A. We've already got the questions from you guys that you filled out on the form. If you haven't, you still have time for January, I believe, but December was probably closed already, I think.
I don't know if I closed it.
Maybe she didn't, but only one question per month. If not, go back to the Q&A monthly question.
I'll check it tonight, because some people might want to change their questions too.
Right. And that might be the case too, but if you guys haven't asked a question, go there and do that. For sure you can on January, but we're not 100% sure on December. And if we end up doing both of them tomorrow, we will have the links ready for you before we go to bed tonight. If we do two different ones, we might do one tomorrow evening, one the evening after. Just really depends on Kalina. Even though she's going into her second trimester, she's still having some of the first trimester energy things with sometimes being tired, sometimes having trouble with food.
I've been tired, especially this week, and running this low grade kind of fever, but I don't know if it's really sick related or what. So
I think it is, because both Kalina and I have been feeling a little rough for the last 3-4 days.
But it's been snowing a lot here, so I don't know how much of it could be like related to the climate and things of that nature.
Climate, also the wind, also the heat, also every possible thing that Michigan does.
And then food. I don't seem like I have to force myself to eat. I'm still not really liking food too much during my pregnancy. So, they can't hear me?
No, I'm just saying you might want to point your head towards that direction so they can, because your voice is a little lighter than mine.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Well, I don't know if they could hear you or not. Also, the Michigan weather has been crazy lately. It's kind of reflected the collective energy. It's gone up to low 30s. Normally, Michigan starts winter like before December, like late November. We didn't get a real winter started till just about a week and a half ago, and now we're in
Blizzards.
35s, 40s, where it's not snowing and everything melts, and then it drops down to like negative 15, 20 with blizzards. All the good stuff. So the sound is good. Beautiful. Thank you for letting us know that. And so we're just going to do this and play tomorrow and the day after by ear, but we will have links set up, whether they're tentative or positively done for sure. We'll let you guys know that before we go to bed tonight and have it posted on Patreon. If you're listening to this in a replay, then you might want to check back with a Patreon. Because that will definitely be something that's an excitement and worth checking into, especially if you haven't got your questions in. So anyway, that's what we're up to. That's what's going on. That's how it's going to roll for the next couple nights. And then ideally, we talked a little bit about this last time, but everything's been up in the air for us for months, just due to the issue with my son, the guardianship, custody, court, all that stuff. And that has been kind of dealt with in a way. So it's clearer now than it's been. And we have something set in place by the court to alleviate a percentage of the issues that we were having, the concerns we had, stuff like that. But we definitely know what our schedule is going to look like, at least for the foreseeable future of the next couple months, which gives us the ability to really set some times up for this and for us to know way ahead of time. So now we're hoping that everything in the next month of the Patreon interactions with you guys will reflect that. Another thing, real quick, is that I am hoping to get the radio show Enlightenment Evolution Hour started back up soon. I've already have a few guests in line of people who are great channelers, spiritual people. Some are teachers, some are just people who want to share and reflect energies, as well as just coming on and talking, and as well as having some channeling once in a while with Aridif and Treb. So this will be something that we would like to put, into Patreon when we can. Like, for instance, if I'm doing a radio show and doing a call-in show, then I would give you guys the number to call in, or the Skype number, or whatever, so that you guys can be a part of the show by calling in, talking, just extra energy, extra time, extra stuff. And that's kind of our whole intent. And all of the other stuff from last year is seeming to at least clear itself to that degree. So it's anyway, I know I'm talking forever. I know I said I wouldn't. Forgive my throat too, guys. The last couple times I channeled, I actually ended up warming up to get into my channeling state. Took a minute or two longer than normal, and that's because of the sinuses and the issues with the weather around and stuff. So either way, yeah, that would be great. We would love to see you guys there. Absolutely.
Who's that? I can't see it.
Yeah, let me pull that up on the big screen for you. Malik said that they would love to join us, and removing the veil says that hopes our son gets better. And thank you. Everything with Jeremy's health, for the most part, again, is fairly good. It's just the situation, and it's a lot to talk about, and something we don't talk about in depth in public because there's a lot of people.
I could probably put it in short. It's kind of, Rob's probably going to have to go back to court again, and within a 6 months time is what we're told. So it's kind of like, it's not exactly a final decision, but it's being looked at. So that's why we're hopeful, because everything's being looked at, investigated for Jeremy's well-being and benefit. And that's all we really ever wanted, was to know that, Jeremy's best interest is at hand, so he's healthy and well. So we really appreciate, I know that you guys have been sending out lots of love and prayers for him and for his health. And it's helping. He's getting more support than he ever has before from the outside world, not just from us and not just from you guys, but it's looking better. It's looking much, much better. So we just have to be a little more patient, which is kind of frustrating. But it's, part of the lesson. There's always divine timing. And I'm sure that, whatever plays out will be for the highest good of all involved. So, and
that's all we've ever hoped for, was that everything could be in the same way, in the same kind of lineup of energy and stuff. But thank you, sweetie, for putting it that way. And you did explain it a lot better than I could. I just feel like sometimes I feel limited in what I can or how I should say it because of all the different people, perspectives, energies. And every time I've talked to people about it, then some perceive that as me being negative towards another person, or my son's mother, or something like that. And that's never been the case. All my interest is...
It's not your intention.
Right. My intention is to get the best outcome for my son,
right,
regardless if it aligns with my beliefs or not. And
it's good to have a third party look at that really cares about Jeremy's intentions, so that everyone is being checked out evenly, and
it keeps everybody honest and
right,
in line with what they should be doing.
Right.
And that includes us, and that's fine. I don't mind that.
Yep. I totally agree. It only helps us for a new baby coming in too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Any kind of advice.
Because our family's growing.
You guys, I'm going on. We'll see. The doctors kind of gave 2 due dates. I think they're a little confused about what exactly conception was. But as far as like scientifically the growth of the baby, I'm heading into 17 weeks now. So pretty amazing. But the due date, they kept it at July 15th.
Yo, cancer baby.
But the baby was looking like in when they were measuring last time the ultrasound, it could be as early as July 9. So somewhere between July 9 and July 15. But they said, well, since it's, within a week's span, we're going to keep the same due date. And I have a feeling they're going to measure and keep a look again because it could be that the baby is a fast grower too. So we'll find out. I think my next ultrasound is at the end of Feb. Yeah, right? Yeah. At the end of February. So
yeah. It's weird too. My father, who was my teacher, my mentor, my best friend, the person who taught me what masculine energy was supposed to be, just one of the greatest all-time humans in my book. And I know we all either think highly or very lowly of our parents, and often both ways that we feel can be unfounded. Like people who are like, I hate my parents, they always tell me to get a job, and what they're really telling you is they want to see you do good, so you get mad and get angry.
That's like the teens and 20s.
Yeah. So it's either way, he was a great guy, and he passed away in 2015, and it still took a couple years to really get into alignment with understanding. Not understanding, I knew he was sick, but just coming to terms with him not being able to be experienced on the physical plane. But he passed away in 2015, but his birthday was on, it's July 11th. So this is right in the spectrum of due dates for our baby.
Yep.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's something where he or she could be right on the same birthday as my dad. So it's cool.
This baby's strong, by the way, guys. Lots of kicking and like flips and just all over the place. It's like the baby is either very still and I think sleeping, and then all of a sudden I'll feel like these fluttery kicks and flips. I felt it really, really early on.
Yes, thank you, Malik.
Thank you, Malik.
And we also sensed the boy early, but we both had dreams about a girl.
So now we're like,
back and forth, flip-flopping between the two. Yeah, we both sensed boys early too, and then had dreams about girls. So it's hard to say. Everyone in both sides of the family originally said boy, besides my mother and my niece, Ashlyn. And
yeah, your mom is saying that she believes it's a girl.
Yeah. So I think we will find out sooner than later, probably. But thank you guys for your input, your love, and that was a very great compliment. We're hoping to hold up our end of the parental deal too, and make sure he or she is a very happy child. So
we're gonna try to be cool as we can as older parents.
Yeah. My parents were in their mid-30s when I was starting to grow up, and I remember how good it was that they had come that far in their life too, because I seen how by the time I was a teenager they were very wise and very in line with what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Even though my mom and dad both had problems of their own, it was more mature versions of themselves as I got older. And I think starting at that point where we're almost 40.
Well, I am 40 now.
Yeah, collectively we're 39
holy crap,
and a half.
I'm 50 when this baby's 10. I better make sure I'm super healthy and all of that,
Absolutely. Guys, we've already talked away 15 minutes plus.
We always do that. We always say we're going to start, and then we chit-chat.
We're going to say, all right, guys, 2 things, 5 seconds, and we're jumping in. And 30 minutes later, we're like, oh, well, we better jump in.
But it's going to be fun someday when we, because we want to manifest a spiritual center. I think it'd be wonderful to, like, have some land and sit around a campfire and share stories and, you know, talk like this. I just think energetically it just feels like it's just really nice, you know, to have that camaraderie.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And
so.
that's something, you know, Kalina and I, well, I'm not even going to get into it because that's a long conversation too. But yeah, we really look forward to making a more physical part of the community. And it's just been a really crazy last couple years for us. And this year is a year of completion and reconfiguration and collaboration, co-creation, amalgamation.
Lee Harris was channeling. It's a year of new beginnings, and I feel that. And I noticed that Wendy Kennedy's Pleaidians were talking about that too. So that's something we should do soon, is get Aridif and Treb's takes on this year ahead sometime.
For some reason, I thought they already talked about it. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but we'll definitely see.
I think they did. I think they touched on it on something, but to be honest with you, my memory is not the super greatest while pregnant.
Well, that does happen. I understand. Lee Harris, too, what a great guy. Wendy Kennedy, too. Both of them are good friends, and both of them have been really bringing out some great stuff. Yeah, so, I mean, it's awesome. Hello, above and beyond. We're definitely so excited that you're here, too. We really appreciate it.
First time live, too.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and we're happy to have you here with us and here with us live. It's been a crazy year, guys, and thank you for loving us.
Last year.
For connecting with us, for supporting us, even when we haven't been able to do everything we want with you. We've wanted to give back so much more to the Patreon than just the basic of what we've been promising, and we're putting that into our intent and into our energy so that we can really kind of connect and really bring that energy out today too. No, I don't know who Levesque is, or Levick. I'm not sure what that is, but no. If it's a channeling or spiritual teacher, I don't really look at too much other spiritual information.
No, you guys can send that to me because
she absorbs like a sponge.
I like seeing, because especially, you know, with the channel panel, you never know who's gonna pop up and be good to add and all of that. So yeah, you guys can always email me if you feel connected to certain channelers, because, you know, I'm always researching that, because I love listening to different channelers. It doesn't really, I feel like it doesn't really impact what I channel or what I pick up.
Right.
But, you know, I've been listening to my guides for so long, since I was little. I don't do this fancy of a channeling as Rob does, but I think because I've gotten so solidified and know my guides so well, it doesn't really impact I don't have to worry about it. I used to worry about that, you know, getting influenced or work, you know, going through filters in a certain way. But no, I can always feel when something resonates with me or if something doesn't, you know.
And for me, it's not so much about things impacting my channeling. I feel like I chose to do deep trance channeling so that it wouldn't affect, because my mind, I'm such a mental person. Even though I'm intuitive and emotional, the mental part of me is very strong too. So I try to keep that energy as far out as I can. And the reason I don't listen to other channeling is because it's not that I don't get anything out of it, but it's everything that I need to learn. I'm learning all the time anyway, whether it's through my experiences with Kalina, my son, the world at large, with you guys, with having sessions, with talking to Treb. And as far as guides go, I always think that the best guidance you can ever get for anything is your own guides, because they're with you all the time. They're connected. And I'm not saying that other guides don't give useful information. I mean, all of you guys are here because you resonate with Aridif, Treb, Metatron, one of them at least, if not all of them. So you can find that information, but the energies and entities that I did receive good information from when I first started channeling, like Bashar and the Pleaidians and Cryon, a couple of them. It's like after my connection with Treb was strong enough and he had the verbiage to kind of explain those things to me, because I had the verbiage at that point, it just broke that pathway free. And since then, I went on and off for a while, but I've been more off than on. The only time I listen to channeling is if
Lee Harris, mainly with his energy forecast, right? We'll sit and watch it together.
Right. And the only time I'll listen to channeling besides that is when I feel extraordinarily drawn to a certain channeling. Like if I see something on the side of YouTube, I'm like, man, I got to look at this or listen to this. Or if we're looking at people to say, hey, we're doing the next channel panel, we need new channelers. We have to see who resonates with us, who doesn't. And that's it, really. And it's not like I said, it's not because other channelers aren't good or don't resonate with me or anything like that. It's just
well, it's exciting when someone channels a piece of information and it matches or is so similar in vibration to say something Aridif or Treb says. So, it's cool. It's almost like finding another piece of a puzzle. And of course, channelings don't always match like that. We're all on different paths and we all resonate with different things and see things different ways. Like a lot of the beings, for instance, when it comes to like densities and dimensions, they have different definitions and measurements for how they measure those out or explain them. Like even Treb and Aridif technically have different ways of defining the densities and dimensions. And the one that is actually taught is through the way the Yits explain it.
Yep.
So it doesn't make anything wrong, but it's still exciting when you get all these universal teachings and you find out what's universal, because you find certain messages just keep getting repeated. And when Rob isn't listening, it's not getting filtered, but especially because he's a trans channeler, it's really not getting, Well, so I find it very exciting.
Trans channelers do have levels of filters. I myself even filter in small degrees, but my filtering, I can tell where I'm filtering. My filtering doesn't include filtering content. My filtering filters my emotional level. If I'm in a really tough spot emotionally, most channelers would be like, yeah, I can't even channel when I'm this messed up. But I neutralize as best as I can, but sometimes there's still that residual emotional energy that kicks that I just can't get rid of 100% in my neutralizing. And when I channel, I can tell that that's there. Most people can't unless they're really listening to Aridif Treb for years. And when that happens, it's not like Aridif tries to say, yeah, the color of the sky is blue, and it comes out the color of the sky is red. Maybe it'll be something like the color of the sky is the same color as a robin's egg, because he can't access the word blue or can't find a decent way to describe it because my mind was so busy before neutralizing. So literally, that's how you can see the filtering process, is going through the channeling and seeing how long it takes to describe something simple. And that's how I can tell that I'm filtering. But even with that, some channelers who are deep trance channelers, and this is something we found more recently, can channel content too and filter that. Like saying some stuff like if you listen to a channeler for multiple years and then all of a sudden they're saying things that are way different, that's probably a filtering issue of that channeler, regardless if they're trance or conscious channelers. But anyway, we said we're not going to do it. And look again, it's 30-minute mark again.
That's okay.
I know you guys love talking with us.
I was thinking when you were talking though, real quick, like you were talking about how like if you're having, kind of a crappy day or you're feeling emotional and you neutralize. I know you've talked about that before, but I think it'd be really cool to teach a class to our Patreon peeps if they're interested in how they can neutralize when they want to channel or connect, especially because when you are having a bad day, like for me personally, when I'm having what I consider a bad day, it gets harder. It's like that's when you need to hear your guides the most. And they feel far away, but they're not. They're right there.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be beautiful if you could teach, more of what you know and really get into a discussion, because I think that's really important. Because I know for me, I can't channel at all unless I'm completely like, me. I can channel some days. This is why you guys don't see me too much, like just going on stage and stuff, because it'll either happen or it won't, and I have to be in like the right state of mind. And I have a feeling that's extremely common. And I think it'd be beautiful if since sweetie, because I've seen you go through really intense things with the court and still be able to channel, and that's really amazing. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that's a good idea? Do you want to learn how to be able to neutralize regardless of what emotions or what's going on in your life? And Rob, is that something that would interest you?
Yeah, I definitely could do that if that's something that all of you guys want to check out. It's the only thing is I'm a technique heavy person, even though I've cut my techniques down a lot.
Permission slips.
Permission slips. I still use those, so when I'm doing it, I've already shared the techniques that I would use. But talking around the mental, emotional state, the thought processes before, during, and after, I think all those are a lengthy conversation that would be really good to have. Thank you, Malik, and yes, please travel safely too with your traveling.
Augustine, yeah.
Yeah, are you leaving the USA to move to a different country, or were you just here visiting and now you're going back home? How did that work out? And I know it's a lag, so it'll take you a while to answer. And if you don't feel like answering too, that's fine. You don't have to share your personal stuff here if you don't feel the need. And thank you, Malik, too. That's a huge, huge compliment, and I appreciate it very much. Yeah, guys. And again, 30 minutes in, and we're still going, guys. I'm going to neutralize and get my energy set up so that we can do this, because we have 2 subjects to talk about in depth, and normally we spend 30 to 60 minutes on a subject, but tonight we're going to try to go between 1 hour and 1.5 hours on both of the subjects. So that we can do
hey Brett,
hey, what's up, brother? Yeah, so we can do everything and kind of get it done to where it needs to be. At that time, do you want to chat with everybody while I'm neutralizing, or do you want to just kind of cut the line and you get a chance to get set up too?
Yeah, I need to.
I figured you might.
Pregnancy peas. Sorry, guys. You're gonna hear me probably getting up a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, and then I'm gonna get like my notebook and stuff around so I can take notes, so that I have questions for Art to follow up. I do want to know what the subjects are, because I actually have not seen them. Do you have that page pulled up so that everybody knows what the subject matters are?
Well, it's right on the subject of the video. Everyone here at the chat can see it. Death and Afterlife and Breath and Kundilini. Those are the 2 subjects. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll make a time out of that for our Patreon people to talk about that, and we'll do talk and then Q&A about that subject with you guys. The
neutralizing.
Right. I'll share with you guys about the neutralizing, and then you guys can ask questions through chat, or maybe we'll open up our Skype line if you want to call.
Yeah.
But we'll figure that out and get a level. I'm
curious too.
But after we're done doing that on Patreon, then I'd really like to share that with the public too. But I want to give you guys the opportunity to be the ones there asking the questions. That's kind of your perk for being our extra supportive team. And that's kind of the way we're going to do it this year. We're going to start taking clips from all of these in-depth 60 to 90-minute channelings, and we're going to take 10-minute clips of the really important stuff for the collective and start sharing it there too, in hopes that either people will join Patreon or that they'll learn something. Either way. For all of you guys who are new, and even some of you who've been here for a while, I cannot overstate the importance of community with this channeling group, with this group of people. So go to Patreon page when you can. And there is a part of the Patreon page on the main page, www.patreon.com/ETWhisperer. And right there right below where it says my name, the ET Whisperer Rob Gauthier is creating ET Whisperer portal. There's 3 tabs: overview, post, and community. I would suggest everyone go to the community tab and start sharing there. It's very rarely used. It's being used more now than it has been for a while. But please feel free to use that so that you guys have the ability to communicate with each other. A lot of you have contacted us, whether it's on Patreon or just YouTube in general, and says, hey guys, we are alone. We don't have any friends who believe in the same thing we do. All right, guys, that's it right here. Good.
That should be it. Yep.
All right, this is where it should be. So just let us know once you guys can hear us. Sorry about that. Yeah, I can hear us. Okay, good. All right, everybody, sorry about that. When I went to open up the Patreon tab, I accidentally hit the sleep button on the on the remote control, and it went.
Oh, is that
all
what you
that.
did?
Yeah.
Usually I'm the one that does that.
Yeah, that's sweet. It's it's one of the best. But whether it's you guys or other people, they just say, hey, we don't have friends, we don't have people in our community. So please, by all means, guys, go to the etwhisperer.com, or I'm sorry, patreon.com/etwhisperer/community. Go there, communicate with each other. We're going to open up a Facebook group, not a page, but a group for all of our Patreon people. And even people who are no longer on Patreon can still be there, because we won't be sharing any links but the Patreon links, so you'll have to have a subscription to watch it. But it's a place where all of you guys can post what excites you, your name, communication, how to get a hold of you if you want other people in our community to contact with you, and all of that good stuff. And in fact, while we're on here real quick, I'm going to create that group before I start my neutralizing and set the link right inside the conversation, because I think it's that important, guys. You want to share anything too, sweetie, right before we get to the neutralizing, because it's going to take me a minute to create this group real quick.
No, well, other than just like with the groups, it's always nice. You might find people who are in a close enough area, or whenever you guys want to go on retreats or vacations, you have buddies to do that with, and
C5s, meditation groups, all that good stuff.
Yeah. If we were able to, and we're going to manifest where we can, but it's a little hard with Jeremy's situation, but we would definitely be traveling all over the place otherwise, couch surfing and meeting lots of other fellow people, because we kind of, we see you guys as family. So it's always really nice. We realized that through the events that we've put on with the Asheville workshops we have every year, and then the channel panel, we've noticed that a lot of people would make friends, and those connections were even more deep and meaningful than anything we ever brought to the table. Not to put ourselves down by any means. People loved it, but there's just nothing like making a friend who is of like mind, and to have that connection and camaraderie. It's just beautiful and magical. And we realize that the community and the connections with that are much more meaningful, and you end up with lifetime. Well, shoot, we've even seen people end up married.
Yeah.
Meeting each other. It's a good place to meet soulmates too.
I just put up the group link up there too, guys, for the group. Come join our group. We will definitely love to see all of you guys there. Let me see. Yeah, we'll definitely let you guys know. In this way, when we have energies heading towards, all sorts of good stuff with Patreon too, we can kind of connect. I just got your request, John. Thank you. If you're watching live, which I'm almost sure you are, otherwise you wouldn't have found it that quick.
We'll soup it up later. It's like really simple right now, but
yes,
we'll definitely do that. So,
yeah. So
you almost got it, baby.
Yep, I've got it. I just got 2 requests there, so I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna add both of you guys right now.
If you want to open it up here, I can add them as you channel.
Oops. Oh, that didn't work out real well. I don't want to do that. I don't want to keep Facebook open, because when people message me, it opens it, and then it looks like it's red even when it's not. But I added you to the group, so you have that, and I'll make you an admin later. But for now, we're just going to jump in this. Anyway, guys, that's set up. I'm letting both of you in the group now.
Did you make it a closed group? So
it is a closed group, so all the personal information you want to share there will stay only with members of the group. You'll have nothing to worry about as far as strangers coming in to see what you're talking about, anything like that. Mm-hmm. I'm a privacy guy. I'm also a rights to privacy advocate, so you're in good hands.
Well, especially if you're ever using your actual name on Facebook, like Facebook tries to force people to do.
Yeah. And
you might have jobs that could possibly frown upon what you're, saying or believing, which shouldn't matter, but, it's always nice to have that. So we definitely want to make sure that you guys are having that privacy.
We do, and we already have 6 members, me, Kalina, and 4 of you guys from here. So when you're watching this in the archives, please feel free to look in the comments, and I'm going to add that now under new Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook and you still want a community, even if it's online, I've always suggested to people, use a nickname, but use a nickname that sounds like a real name. Otherwise, Facebook will flag you and require you to do picture ID. So like, John Johnson or Bill Bilson or what,
I don't know if that's really realistic.
Rob Robson. It's closer than some of the stuff, like a lot of people in our community, which has always been kind of funny to me.
I would say do some woman's married hyphenated name.
There you go.
It just seems like,
Well, a lot of people in our community are like Starlight, Moonchild, or Starseed.
Which in our community is completely plausible.
Yeah,
that could happen.
Yeah, that's true. John Finkelstein, perfect.
There you go.
Love it. And that way we'll be.
Well, they raise flags on my name because I was born with a freaking straight. People are like, Kalina Angell, oh, what's your real name? I'm like, that literally.
That's the real.
That's my actual name. I'm like, it's funny. And then that extra L, like I'm trying to be all fancy. No, that's just like really old English, man. That's real. I did not like pretend or Angel just kind of.
It is the real deal name. All right, guys, it's already 45 after. We've been on here 45 minutes. Well, 40 minutes because we were a couple minutes late.
And it's funny because Aridif's really forward. He's been
forward for like an hour before I started. He's been really at the front. Enjoy your guys. Please do me a favor.
Homer Simpson.
I like it. Please, all of you guys who are at the chat, this always happens. When someone comes in and says, is the channeling over? Or, hey, did it start yet? Can you please let them know that I'm just neutralizing and that we'll be back in 5 to 7 minutes? Kalina will keep an eye on it too, but she also has to.
Yeah. I'll be writing under Rob's name too. So if you hear Aridif and then the chatting, technically Aridif is able to do that, but we won't.
Yeah, he could if he wanted to, sure.
I've actually Skyped messages with Aridif before, believe it or not.
During a live stream.
Yeah, while I was moderating. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, plus Aridif does tech shooting when, like if I'm channeling with a person doing a private session and it's a 90-minute session, if I've channeled 45 minutes and break, I can't go right back into channeling. So if Kalina's not available or not here, then he's got to go and try to fix whatever the issue. But luckily, the weird thing is Aridif can't speak and have my eyes open at the same time. He said that the visual stimulus overpowers the verbal stimulus. You have to hit enter, sweetie.
Oh, well, I'm waiting until you're actually...
Oh, okay. I'm done, guys. I'm shutting my face. I'm going to shut my mouth hole and let this go to the neutralized time, guys. We love you so much. Thank you guys for supporting us. If you guys enjoy this and you really enjoy coming on, talking, and hanging out, by all means, please jump in, share on Facebook, share in the community, be a part of it. And if you don't, we understand, and that's fine too. But it really does enrich everybody's energy. And thank you guys for hanging in there. 2019, the year of Patreon butt kicking. This is what we're going to do. Oh, and all of you guys who are truly interested in that energy of us just coming on and talking once a week or once every couple weeks or being a part of our radio show, let us know here in the chat and in the comments, and let us know on Patreon, guys. All right, I'm going to mute down, guys. Love you. 5 to 7 minutes. We'll be back.
Guys.
Love you guys. All right, everybody, we're double checking, making sure everybody can hear us, which just takes a second to make sure. La 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 la. Check, check, check.
That's it right here.
Check, check, check. Check. Oop, that's not the right one. Okay. We're just double checking, guys. Sorry. Okay, that's perfect. We heard it, and it's there. All right, guys. Another thing, obviously, there's not a video tonight. We're still in the middle of doing a lot of spring, winter cleaning, and our apartment's small, and Kalina's got to use the restroom a lot, so it's right in the camera way. So we're not using video tonight. We'll try tomorrow, but we're definitely going to be on tomorrow at 9, possibly at 4 and 9. So just keep your guys' eye on that.
If you see some disheveled looking stuff, it's because we're pre-packing for wherever we're going to move, because we need a bigger place. We don't have a place yet, but we know if we just start doing that, it helps to manifest things, puts things in motion. So if you see boxes and things like that around, I don't think you guys will mind, but that's what that's about when you see that on camera.
And just to remind you guys, this will be more true tomorrow than tonight, but these energies are always reflections of the collective energy. So when you're listening to these subjects, especially the ones you're interested in afterlife and death, and the second subject, Kundilini and breathing, just remember, guys, that the energy and reflection for you is going to be reflected back in the way Aridif explains and expresses it. And it's a collective energy tonight. Tomorrow will be more personalized. So enjoy yourselves tonight, but really enjoy yourselves tomorrow. And that way the reflections, the answers will come back as they're needed for you guys.
I just realized it's Divine Brothers night from the chat room that I can see, right? All guys. Except for me, of course.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to Divine Brothers tonight.
Yeah, that's a possibility, yeah. All right, everybody. I'm going to take one more drink of water, one more deep breath, and then we'll get officially started on the rock and roll time, guys.
Yeah.
We love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being the love and support, for understanding our situation when we've been a little slower than we hoped to be, and for knowing that possibly only twice per month we come on here and still hang out with us all month. We're really going to try to invest that energy back to you guys and give you more of us for the support that you give us. So we thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it's definitely going to pick up a lot more than it is now. Soon.
And we've been saying that on and off for a year, but this time we're really setting things in motion here. So thank you guys. All right, I'm going to mute you guys out for a second so I can blow my nose before I start. No one wants to hear that.
I already tortured you guys with that earlier with mine.
Well, sometimes it can't be helped, but this time it can be. So 1 second, guys. All right, I let Kalina do hers too.
It's like a couple of trumpets going off and you're out of tune.
That's what kind of night. That's what kind of night you're getting tonight. Oh, all right. We take one more deep breath for neutralize time again.
Oh, you have to blow your nose
again. It's all right. All right, I'm going to take my breath, guys, and we're going to roll.
Now that you can breathe.
All right, guys. Love you. We'll see you on the other side.
I love you. Thank you, sweetie.
I love you, baby. Thank you for adding in what you add to put the energy in. Even when you haven't felt your best for the last almost 2 years now with Patreon, you've kicked ass all the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
For kicking ass.
Thank you. I love you guys.
All right, guys. See you on the other side. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Have more water if you need it. Aridif.
Greetings to all Aridif, that is ARIGIF, and this is its spell. We understand that all of you desire to speak upon the two subjects at hand, chosen by the collective consciousness for the collective consciousness in this evening. But before diving in to the two queries, there are two things in which we desire and wish to express. The first, above and beyond all things, express within this day to know, to feel, and to perceive that you are loved is of the utmost importance. Secondly, it is our greatest excitement, and within our greatest excitement, to co-create with each and every one of you, both individually and collectively, in this evening. Thirdly, greetings, Kalina.
Greetings, dear Aridif. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, of course. As we've expressed, it is our greatest excitement. Now, beginning with the first subject at hand, this concept, this subject, and this idea will be spoken of, perhaps in your terms, linearly longer than the second, as we have expressed many ideals within this group format and forum, within the constructs of Kundilini in separate occasions and breathing in yet another. To combine the two is where we will place our energy in this evening, but most of what we express will have already been covered, shared within your Patreon community, and what we can add, we will. Along with your queries, Kalina, we believe it is sufficient enough for all of you not only to learn, but to reflect within your own self the constructs of belief. So, let us first dive into the construct of death and afterlife. Now, we understand, to Rob's own perspective, this is clearly one subject at hand that can and should be expressed, spoken upon, and extended upon. But in our own perspective, we understand the concept within the construct was meant or desired or intended to be slightly different in the way that Rob has perceived it. So we shall share in degrees of both Rob's own perspective and the question's intent as well. The question intent desired to understand what death was, the moment of death, the experience of death, and the energetic construction of death. So we will share multiple levels within this fold. Starting off, what is death? What is death to all of you? There are multiple answers, but one consensus within all of the answers. It is the time in where you transfer consciousness outside of your physical body, reintegrating into the consciousness that natively was outside of the physical body, rejoining oneness, rejoining source, rejoining higher fractal consciousness for all intents and purposes. In that way, all of you are very correct. This is the application mechanically of death. When you are speaking of human death versus death upon other planets, there are slight differences in the way that that is experienced, and we can touch lightly upon that quickly. For the human death, it is circumstances that lead one entity into an experiential loop, or a single experience that allows this entity to create separation from body and soul. Yet, most humans believe one of two scenarios occur in death. They believe it was the divine timing of creator consciousness itself in whatever form or God that they use to the deity of their preference. And secondly, it was a circumstance in which either an accident occurred or the body gave way to old age, disease, or illness. All of those things expressed in the way that they are expressed can have relative points of truth within it. But overall, our perspective of the human death is quite different. For example, those who suffer the concept of long or elongated forms of illness often understand and know their death pending. This is neither prophetic nor is it physically alone in its interpretation. Yes, physical death does occur. Yes, the concept of a higher source of energy deciding what period or point of death is partially valid within this construct. But the truth in the way that we perceive it is that both things must occur simultaneously. There must be a physical activation for the death circumstance, and secondly, the higher form of consciousness agrees that that is the moment of death. But it is not the higher form of consciousness. It is not the God. It is not the universe. It is not source. It is not logos. It is not any of those interpreted ideas of higher self. It is in fact the combination of the lower fractal consciousness and the higher fractal consciousness that decide moment of death and separation of physical body. Yet to go deeper, there are many times in which all of you have already perceived and experienced death within the same physical structure you are in now, and still survived experientially ongoing. That is due to the nature of the multiplicity of the oversoul and the twin soul relative, as all experiences are and can be probability oriented within your experiential spectrum. This requires the multiple timelines to occur in the probability compartment and structure of the twin soul. That means that when you are living here, there are parts that are parallel versions of yourself, or better yet, versions of yourself that are not focused into physical reality and not focused upon the lower fractal and higher fractal consciousness. And all of those deaths do still occur within the twin soul. Some of those have even been brought from the twin soul over to the oversoul and then played out, only to realize that that moment of death was not the appropriate moment of death for the larger picture of the soul. One or two things can occur instantaneously. That reminding from the lower fractal, higher fractal amalgamation expressed in that moment, we are not giving in to a physical death in this moment, and then life resets itself, automatically starting moments, hours, or days before that death occurs, and starting fresh, linearly with their new experience, or multiple moments and increments of time between actual moments themselves to weeks, years, months, etc., after dying and separating your consciousness from the physical body, pondering back at your life, looking over all of the accounting for that experience, desire to have changed the mode of death and jump back into that timeline to re-experience an elongated version of your life. This occurs less than the first expression. Most humans, after dying, immediately know that was not the moment of death and retry, not altering any form of their co-creation, only going backward in linear time to reinsert themselves in, for lack of better terms, the physical matrix itself. And in that energy, a new experience is hatched. All of the energies of entities that are hearing us with their ears in this moment, and all of the entities with only two exclusions of the perceivable future of 20 linear days that listen to our voice, have experienced this instant form of death through whether it is lower fractal conscious perspective, accidental, or a misplaced version of time-space within the alignment of lower and higher fractal consciousness, and then reset instantly into that new experience. So both of these are true. Both of the constructs of energy are relevant to the human experience. Going into another planetary consciousness, for example, we will utilize a human form that is very similar to human beings upon Earth. Those are humanoid constructs from the other side of a galaxy with a star that has never been seen, either through technological means of your recent human collective consciousness, nor has it been seen by human eyes themselves in that term. This race is approximately in a similar place of their evolution. They are mid-third density, but evolutionary-wise, you are both very similar. Most of the beings on that planet are still merging, purging, and expressing their own sense of self in a collective consciousness. But the main difference between the two races, besides the structure of your DNA, the place in which the galactic consciousness you exist, and your collective experiential spectrum, is the fact that this race is more in tune with their fourth density self as a whole planetary consciousness than Earth is in this moment, when you are actually already in fourth density. And with this race, the death process is much different. Yes, there is a removal of life in a moment. Yes, separation, all of the main factors in the description of death, regardless of what system you are, still apply to this race. There is the re-emerging of lower fractal and higher fractal consciousness, but the way in which it happens is much different. Most of you see illness or accident, times of death in those approximations. These entities know that their death will occur within 1 to 3 hours before death occurs, whether it is in a misaligned version of their reality or simply their own desire to leave that physical realm and offer their own body out back into their planet and their soul to re-enter and reintegrate. So even at less than fourth density consciousness, this race perceives death much differently, and it is due to the nature of which they perceive death, to the difference in which they experience that same death. If all humans believe that you would know hours before you died, that you can willingly separate your physical body and consciousness for permanent physical death, then you could experience this in your Earth collective. This race of humanoid beings does exactly this. Even if it is a sudden form of illness, as in third density illness does occur regardless, the amount of resistance or lack of resistance within a race, there can be resistant field energies that are called illnesses. And even if that were to come quickly with him, there is a pure acceptance in knowing that once the life is gone, consciousness will reintegrate. Part of this conditioning is part of your own systematic planning, with the concept of religion wrapped deeply around your fears of death. There are so many different forms of beliefs around death within the Earth Collective that all of you have become afraid of what will happen afterwards. Even for those of you who do not fear death itself and feel almost positively within your alignment so that you do know what will occur after death is done, this still remains a small fraction of a percentage to a large percentage of fear, the unknown, the after, the what is next portion of your experience. That fear drives the feelings of sudden death, the experience of accidental death, and when it comes to disease, the energies behind your beliefs of disease, strictly being physical in nature only, gives way for that experience to manifest itself outward. The dying process itself, quite different from one entity to the next. We cannot give a blanket term for all of you to understand, accept, or to know what death feels like. This is highly dependent upon each entity. Most humans require certain experiential energies of assistance during the death process, whether that comes in form of humans being around you, that are loving and supporting you, person who is upon their deathbed in an unconscious state, not verbally able to express themselves, shut down the entire mind and only able to receive physical stimulus from around them. Those entities prefer supportive experiences and engagements with the entities that would be their family, loved ones, clergymen, or hospital staff. That energy is their assistance in going to the next side. Other entities who are in accidents and die moments after impact are often perceived as either connecting with emergency workers and letting that be their assistance, or they manifest family relatives or angels to come to them and to create with him, telling them that it is your time to leave. We are here to support you. You can come to the light and be part of God. These mechanisms of help within releasing that physical body are yet again highly dependent upon belief. If you are a Christian being who believes in only one life, you will not see reincarnations of yourself assisting you. You will see God's angels. You will see archangels. You will see entities with wings, or you will see saints or biblical figures, or past family members who have already experienced. While yet, if you are Buddhist, you may see other versions of your experience in previous incarnations. You may see Buddha himself. You may see all of the variant entities that engaged with Buddha in positive or negative experiences. These are also the same entities that can experience demon forms, demons, jinn, and even for Christians, demons come to their experience to transfer. And although that demon portion seems quite scary, it is only a mechanism to help allow separation fully of the body once they leave the physical body in the fullest way. They will either engage in versions of light forms of hell until they are able, willing, and experientially ready to let go of the punishment that they felt that they required, or until another guidance system comes in to replace and show this is not a permanent state of anything, that the God that you believe in is one that loves you and will never abandon you towards the evil and damnation of the world. In fact, even those who are supposed to wear the masks of those that are satanic or devilistic can remove their mask in that moment and tell you, we are not what you believe. We are all part of oneness, and you can experience this. As we've expressed, literally infinite versions and ways for humans to experience, but all of them require assistance in separating their human form with their afterlife experience. Death itself, in the physical sense, also very different from person to person. Accidents are the most jarring forms of that experience. One moment you are speeding in a car, the next moment you lose consciousness for splits of seconds and awake quite separate from your body. This can feel physically as if nothing occurred, perhaps a sharp jargon or jiggle within your body and you are gone. Others who feel forms of elongated death, such as accidents and hours after bleeding, or after several months in a hospital with illness. Their energy, illness and death takes longer, but is less jarring. This energy means you're mentally, emotionally preparing yourself to separate from the physical body, and more of those engagements need less forms of assistance, meaning those that require family members and angels to speak to them for hour or hours at a time only need one entity for one moment to show themselves visually in the third eye, and then that entity can let go. Physical pain of death is understood by all of you. You feel physical pain when you hurt yourself. Those who are killed in most violent ways do feel at least portions of pain most of the time in the most violent forms of death, and most of the time in elongated illnesses, especially with those that separate themselves from communicative forms, who are considered brain dead or vegetabilistic, have already created a system so that they are not suffering nearly as much or as deeply. And that is removing the majority of consciousness from their physical body, or in the moment of impact, of accident. They are separating the majority of their self right before the crash, or during the crash, or right after, so that the physical pain that is felt is tied only to the physical portion, not to the spiritual or soul essence portion. That way, death is also very different from person to person. The length, the brevity, the experiential intensity of all of those things quite different. One moment we'll hydrate Rob's throat and continue. Now that we have covered death quite extensively, we will look at the afterlife as it is. Yet again, with no surprise, this is akin to the construct of death, highly personalized from individual to individual. Experientially, the spectrum is infinite in the ways that it can and does express itself. For those who have beliefs oriented in religion, that is always the first gateway to their afterlife experience. The ones who believe in heaven, hell, the ones who believe in purgatory, the ones who believe that their physical soul separates from one another and that the soul is left in the physical plane for all of eternity. All of them utilize the cycle in which they are aware of. What happens to those who have no belief? This is almost non-existent in your planet. Even those who do not feel religious in their expression still feel idealistically that they know what will occur. For example, the atheist forms, the scientific atheist of your experience, believe that consciousness blinks out eternally, that nothing can or will occur. These entities do experience certain amounts of time being blanked out from their death to the next portion of their afterlife. Most of the time it is less than 1 year. For the majority of humans, they are able to go back into their funeral or into their party for those who have lived onwards to celebrate the entity who has passed. Most of them within that spectrum are only a few days within their death until the time that they resurface. Consciousness in that way is similar to an electrical current. In certain moments where resistance is less, the energy continuously runs as if it is a DC or direct current, while those who are not in touch with themselves or who have those limiting beliefs that create breaks within their conscious awareness are more so like alternate currents, where they are experiencing large and strong burst, then no burst, then large and strong burst, then no burst. And this experientially, again, differs from person to person drastically. The majority of you who hear and understand the expression that we are sharing should have very little problems going in from your experience, physical body, to your afterlife experience. That is because you know that there is no one ending for all of you. That is because you know that it is truly not an ending, only a shift in vibration frequency. It also means that all of you in your experience will have the opportunity to manifest something different vibrationally for each of you. That gives you not only hope, but it gives you wisdom. And wisdom is one of the greatest tools in order to incorporate and to iterate the forms of your afterlife that you desire. In those terms, the ones who are extremely less limited in their perspective and view often will go straight into the form of separating from the physical body. After they are done separating from their physical body, they will always manage their house, family. They will always look after the ones who they are worried about most, knowing that if I die, my husband or wife will be completely eradicated in their mind or completely destroyed from the reality that they are. So they will go back and check in, share energy with that entity, person or family, and assure themselves that they are aware of what has occurred and that they are going to move towards a healing state. This will be greatly dependent also upon your perspectives. If you trust your family in knowing that regardless of what occurs after your death, whether it is 1 day or 10 years, that they will all be fine, that they will eventually move on with their life, then you feel much less obligated to stay into what we would call the ghost zone of consciousness, instead of spending time between third and fourth density, or between fourth and fifth density, looking at all the things mostly only in the physical plane, you will be able to jump into the next level of consciousness. And what is the next level of consciousness? That is expressed also spectrally. The energy that all of you see as densities have specific traits, ideas, energies, but between each density there are also places of, for the lack of better terms, the energetic substructure of your ghost zones, or between states. For example, and we give this all to numerical example so that an entity may understand more mentally and then feel in with their intuitive and emotional self. Between third and fourth density, we will express 10 variations of the ghost zone, and we would express those as 3.1 density, 3.2 density, all the way to 3.9 and then fourth density, knowing that between 3.0 and 3.1 is barely above the physical plane. This is where most of the entities that can physically be seen by the majority of all human eyes exist. They are filled with their own characteristics. You are able to see face or partial faces in the apparition in front of you. You are able to see the energetic imprints of that person's characteristic, their self-oriented projection of the entity into that physical space. 3.2, less physical, but still very able to be seen. 3.3, now the seeing goes down in percentage. Only those who have fairly open third eye, throat, and crown chakras will be able to perceive, and when perceived in much less detail, balls of light, orbs, shadows, etc. Going onward, you go into the area or periods of approximately 3.5 to 3.7, where you are starting to separate more and more from that physical plane. Once you reach 3.8, 3.9, you rarely ever reconnect with the physical space. In 3.5 to 7, you have the option to go into the higher vibration, where all things in the physical realm are accessible, but not unless you focus upon that energy. Where is this place? Where does it exist through time-space? It exists exactly in the same time-space region you are in. If Rob's consciousness were to fully leave his body in this moment, whether he is in 3.1 and able to see the body that he has left behind, or if it goes to 3.9 and is barely able to perceive the physical reality, he will still be in the earth construct of energy, in the earth collective conscious energy. That is why heaven is an infinite place for all beings. That version of heaven that most Christian entities have experienced is going into that level of 3.89 and even in 3.959 and going upwards, going into a place where they are still able to see the base version of Earth, second density form of Earth, plants and animals, or just seeing the highest dimensional form by going between fourth and fifth density. This is where it is more tricky for Earth and other places. If you looked past 8 years linearly in your history, all entities who passed only would go between 3.0 and 4.0. But now, there are those of you in the fourth density, both physically, where all of you are, and experientially, unlike the majority of human beings, meaning that they are able then to start experiencing 4.0 to 4.999 and 5. This experience is so vastly different from one another. If you were to die in this moment and go to 3.1, you would be very physical in the earth. But if you were to go to 4.1, you would be in the fourth density version, seeing very few of the beings that you know, but seeing many of those that are blind to you in this moment, the higher dimensional beings, the Sasquatch, the Veris, the Ferakis, the unicorn consciousnesses, all of the mythical beings that are one density or dimension higher than humans, but still inhabit the form of Earth. All of those experiences are, as we've expressed, much different. What is the basis for those that leave their own physical structure and reintegrate after going through initial death and climbing through the vibration? What is occurring mechanically is that the lower fractal consciousness is regathered with the higher fractal, but the perspective still only exists in the lower fractal self. The longer that entity is out of the physical body, and more so importantly than time, experientially, the energy of perspective opens and integration into the higher parts of the higher fractal consciousness starts to implement its perspective's growth. That means that the energy of being into your higher fractal consciousness shifts your perspective and adds on to your personality. So now you are growing back into your full form. Lower fractal consciousness is approximately 12 to 20% of all of your consciousness. That is what most of you hold in your body. That is what most of you experience your day-to-day self with. But your higher self is the rest of the 80% and more of consciousness that is above you. Altogether, you are one identity. You are one fractal of an oversoul. You are one fractal consciousness that is identified as one entity. When you die, that separate fractal of the larger entity starts becoming more implemented in your experience. And by the time you reach into 40% of your higher fractal self, the knowledge base jumps in to where most of you would be in fifth density. This means you are at Treb Bor Yit NE's layer of consciousness. You are able to perceive multiple realities. You are able to see mechanisms that are created in the physical realm. Most of you require no more than this before desiring to reincarnate. You understand the larger picture. Now you can start setting ways for your next life. The reintegration shifts the perspective so greatly that most humans who perceive their lives as one experience out of multiple start understanding it is more than this. It is more than the singular perspective in one incarnation, one experience, for that experience in a larger experience sake. More so, you see the fractalization of the oversoul and its own desire to experience all things, not one thing, not one variant of one thing, but literally to experience all things that can be experienced in that collective. Now you no longer see the earth as a group of human beings. You see it as an entire consciousness thriving with 144,000 oversouls, with 144,000 twin souls, multiple quadrillions of entities just as yourself starting to integrate into a larger frame and framework of consciousness. That understanding drives entities that in their lower fractal and even parts of their higher fractal consciousness that express there is no way that I will ever go back into physical reality because of its treacherous nature and poor experiential quality. We'll then see the purpose behind physical incarnation in the most in-depth and in the most passionate way. At that moment, once the whole picture is seen, there is nothing then more important than to go back into that physical realm, experience. And that energy itself is what drives all consciousness, not the physically integrated consciousness, not the embodied or unembodied consciousness, not the free-flowing, etherical, higher dimensional consciousness. Literally, every frame of consciousness desires for experience and experiencing. And that energy, once seen, after going and reintegrating into 40% or more of your higher self, will be so passionate, so powerful, and so driving that even if you incarnated into the poorest place in the earth, where all humans desire nothing more but to kill one another, that experience then becomes worth an experience. And even sacrificing 100 years of treachery in an environment where all things are evil and treacherous, it is worth that experience. The experience pool of consciousness itself is so drastically important, so drastically needed and desired, that all of the smaller details start alleviating themselves from your concern, from your perspective, from your desire to understand. Now we understand this concept resonates very lowly in human form, that yes, I would desire to have the worst life possible. It is always a thought process behind, in my next life I will be rich. In my next life I will be in fourth density and experience manifesting instantly in a collective where all beings are happy and excited. And yes, that is a natural progression linearly of consciousness. That is the natural progression of the soul evolution, to go from the lowest density with most resistance to the highest density with least resistance. But as a soul fractal, you will be able to choose which direction through your linear time that you experience. Most entities experience in linear form, so that does not become, perhaps, we are looking for the greatest term for this, not disorienting, but beyond disorienting. So far past disorienting that we cannot find a human word for it. This energy is so that when the human form leaves its body, only integrates into 15 and 20% before reincarnating, that they are not losing that experiential quality that they desire. And this is the form that most humans are also not aware. Once you leave your physical body, reincarnation is possible almost immediately. There will be, for lack of better terms, a mandatory length of time between finally agreeing that yes, you are leaving this life behind, to starting a new life and integrating that energy. But it is only so that you are not reincarnating into bodies that are not in alignment with your system preferences. Most humans in their lower fractal form themselves cannot perceive this. Most cannot adhere to the constructs of their own desire instantly, because they are still too close to the human perspective and to the lowest form of lower fractal consciousness perspective. In that way, leaving the physical body at 12% and reincarnating at 15% is not unheard of. In fact, it occurs more on Earth than most collectives. And that form still allows you to have another growth, another life. But it does not give you time to see the larger picture. That is why many humans who reincarnate quickly often feel very disconnected once they are meditating, once they are truly connecting with parts of their higher self, because they have not taken that time to go back into their higher fractal consciousness enough between lifetimes, after lifetimes, or during those lifetimes. It feels heavy or problematic. The natural form of all evolution is that change does and will occur. But with that being expressed, there are no forms and regulations of souls that will hold down something different from what we have expressed. When you are going into another form of life, when you are going to incarnate into an energy, that energy can be expressed literally in infinite ways, even if those infinite ways are not in true alignment with the way that the rest of the universe manifests itself through incarnation cycles. We will take your queries on this subject before entering the next subject, Kalina.
Thank you, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
What's amazing is you touched upon a vast majority of the questions I had already written down. So if anything sounds a little redundant, you'll know why.
Yes, we understand.
But going into I just wanted to get into something that I thought was quite fascinating. Maybe you could share a little bit more about it.
Yes,
you had once told Rob and myself how even after death, the human, while we perceive ourselves as non-physical at that point, we're actually more physical and denser than, say, you being 6D. So to you, you're physical and you have your own distance, you have your body, and we perceive ourselves as not having a body and not being physical. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about that. It's very fascinating how we see ourselves, perceive ourselves as non-physical, and yet we are denser than you are, if you want to call it physically, than your physical body. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, of course. First of all, you are correct. Even after leaving your physical body, you are in an energetic body form. Now, going between physical lives is a bit different than being inside of one physical life. When you are holding a physical life, you are in one density. You are in either third or fourth or fifth or sixth. But in between lifetimes, you are in between densities. This does not mean you are less physical. In that way, you are highly correct. And when you are going to 3.1, 3.2, or even 3.9, you are still in much more dense energetic form than ourselves at 6. If you use only mathematical form, you will always see that the higher the number, the less dense the physical structure. And although technically you are not in a physical body unless you are at 3, 4, 5, or 6 exactly, you still hold the energetic form of a physicality, meaning that if you were to project yourself from 3.995 into the fourth density, you can be almost as solid or physical as the beings that are there. In some forms, you are still more dense than those beings, but because you have not chosen to stand in 3, 4, 5, or 6, it will be a slight difference of vibration. In that way, incarnating into a physical body is resetting the vessel that you are in. When you are at 3.995, you are only a continuation and variance of the vessel that you left behind in 3.0. The physical vessel is dead in 3.0, but the energetic body and physicality of that energy does carry on and exist past that period, if this makes sense to you.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost an astral body state, correct?
Yes, quite accurate. And in that form, although there is an astral form of body in those terms, it is a construct more so that is in between the layers of astral layers. Astral layers also exist after the physicality. And when you are passing, you can go into the layers that you are going into afterlife with. That is how humans perceive those who have passed onward. But in astral state, when your consciousness is leaving the physical body and integrating more so with your higher dimensional selves, then those bodies are different and can travel also between all layers. Meaning, between 3.1 and 3.2, for example, you would only see either 3.1 or 3.2, but anywhere between 3.11 and 3.199, all of those are different astral layers or levels, and each of them so close to one another that entities who are similar can vibrate within frequencies and perceive one another as physical. There are those of you who astrally project your physical self into your conscious state, and with your physical body ground to the earth with your consciousness, leave the state and vibration plane in which you are, and bump into other beings who are physically similar to you. You can touch them, you can feel them, you can smell them, you can sexually engage with them, as many humans do as they are astral projecting. In that state, there's a physicality of its own, but it does not exist in what we call physical reality, because physical reality is only 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, and 6.0.
Got you. And just real quick, because I really feel like either now or in the linear future, there's someone who's like really asking after death, regardless of what level they're at, they're going to be able to travel with their friends and beings on light ships. That's what I'm picking up. Someone's asking.
Yes, of course. When you are engaged, perhaps at an astral state that is an awkward number, 3.741. Let us say you are in that engaged realm. If you are in that 3.7, let us say, for example, then yes, you are able to connect with all beings who are at that level and higher in an engaging part, if they are able to bring their vibration down. But you are able to connect with all of the things that are lower. More likely to engage with those in starships, you will have to enter or surpass your fourth density self. All of your fourth density in consciousness in this moment, astrally projecting takes you past fourth density, but there is still the limitation of belief of where and what you are. Just as we expressed, humans who believe that they must be sick or in an accident to die experience this, while those who know that they can leave their body and that will be their death also do this. If you believe you are only a third density being and then astral project, you have to go higher than fourth density in order to engage with fourth density beings. Just as those who desire to co-create with Treb Bor Yit NE, unless he brings his consciousness down into a lower than fifth density vibration by fractalizing his own consciousness and projecting it into that reality, you would have to surpass 5.0 in order to engage physically with him. Because of his own interpretive, energetic forms in the third eye chakra, crown chakra, etc., he is able to perceive 5.15. He is able to perceive 4.92. So by projecting yourself past that level, then you are physically able to interact with him.
Excellent.
Experientially, the vibration will be different. Experientially, if you are not quite up into the fifth and desire Treb Bor Yit NE's companionship, then you would only be able to energetically perceive them, not be able to touch or hold hands or communicate physically, but he would be able to perceive you in spirit form or lower vibrational frequency. You would appear physical to him while he appears etheric to yourself.
Thank you, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
Do you need another tissue?
No, we are quite fine. Okay. Thank you.
Ooh, you're welcome. So this one, I'm going to try to make it a little quick if you can, because I know most people that are listening are earth seeds, so I know this is like the earth seed experience. It's common, but since there are quite a few star seeds and even passable hybrid humans on our planet now, what kind of typically goes on after death for them? Because I know there, or even people who have had many incarnations under the systems, I imagine it's going to be a little bit different with how they get reunited and what's going on for them. So what is a bit of that process for them?
Yes, of course. Depending upon the entity and their own awareness of lineage will be also dependent upon their afterlife. As we've expressed, each individual can go into infinite versions of their previous engagements, previous incarnation identities, or to the entities and guides within it. For instance, that you understand you have lineage with Arcturian beings.
Yes.
This means that after your life, with your knowledge, you can engage with Arcturians quite quickly. They can come to your experience after that life and engage with you, co-create with you, speak with you. But even in that form, you will still be of lower vibration, so they will seem etheric to you, although you can perceive them if you desire. That co-creation is only different because of your knowledge of this energy. Those humans who are starseeds who are not aware will still only experience the version of afterlife that their belief systems allow them to experience. But if there are those free-flowing beings, then just as humans after leaving your life, meeting up with the guides or fellow humans who have passed, you will also meet with your guides and fellow Arcturians who you had created or connected with previously.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
So, another thing that's interesting, I've noticed people say a lot. There's a very common fear of experiencing nothingness after death. Why is this common in the human collective, that we fear that we just are nothing, or that we'll be bored, which is actually consciousness itself? What caused this fear, and what is that about?
Yes, first of all, what are humans afraid of in their own physical life? That nothing will change, nothing will occur, that they will be in forms of boredom, apathy, or lack of growth and development. Even those who do not consciously desire growth and development still feel apathy when they are only going through the experiencing loop of repetitiveness. Those who are inclined towards mental resistances, who only desire to cause fights or traumas, still do not feel peace in their experience unless there are more fights or new fights or different fights that they can experience. So humans innately are born with that growth, and this comes from slow growing processes. Initially, you are jumped from second density animal being to a third density being in a time period that was multiplied by hundreds of times as quick as most entities do experience that shift. And that was forced upon human collective. But afterwards, the growing was slow, and that was because of all of the manipulations of your own DNA and also the implementation of the mental progression, the planning of those that were of the Anunnaki variety, of certain Elohim and of draconian races. The system that was set for humans was to engage with high forms of resistance so that it could feed into cycles of energetic co-creations, energetic vampirism, or energetic misalignments for the benefit of the incarnation cycles of those that desire not to repeat. An incarnation going back into oneness. So that period of energy shows you the form of resistance that humans start with innately, initially. It is part of your DNA. After life, that fear comes from having so many different versions of your afterlife expressed to you, that this is the God, this is the way, this is the only afterlife, and not knowing which one is correct. That is part of that systematic energy of resistance that was fed initially and very directly into that energy for the lack of benefit of human growth. That energy still flows within the collective in this moment, and that energy is the one that causes that fear, that innate interaction-reaction construct. This only goes away once human energy in larger collective forms becomes open to telepathy and open into the higher dimensional forms of communication. What you are all doing now is on the cutting edge of where the Earth Collective will head. That is speaking to your guides, opening your intuition, and understanding the limitlessness of your conscious constructs.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Did you touch upon atheists earlier?
Yes, of
okay,
course.
I thought you did because I was writing the question, I think as you were talking about, like, wait a minute, sounds like he's already answering it.
Yes, of course. We felt what queries were needed from your energy.
You really did. I mean, it's amazing. You literally, I mean, I must have written nearly 20 questions. You were really hitting them. Okay, here's one. I don't think you covered unless I was in the restroom at that point because, pregnancy pee.
Yes, of course.
So I'm curious about what our senses are beyond death versus in life. We have the 5 senses plus psychic senses if we develop them. But what about on the other side? Do we drop some of our physical senses in a way? Do we have more? Like what exactly do we have once we go to the other side, as we call it?
Yes, we understand. Each night you are in dream state. That is very similar. In fact, can go into the areas in which those who leave their physical bodies go. Astral projecting in the same region, meditating, releasing consciousness from the body. Certain physical experiences are lessened, such as pain, such as the heaviness of the physical bodies, such as resistance, inability for the physical form to move, but all of the other forms are heightened. Smell, touch, hearing, seeing, and additionally, that 6th sense of the human form. All of those things either increase or implement themselves for the first time. Those who are not considered psychic by your society, in our own perspective, are still psychic, only they are not aware that they are psychic, are starting to understand the depth of their intuitive state. What most humans would call psychic networking actually becomes a part of the energetic body after leaving the physical strain and going into that in-between realm, the ghost zone. Intuition grows on the exterior layers of all experiences and energetic bodies, meaning that those entities that are similar into your dream states become quite aware of themselves. We have heard Rob use an example, therefore we have taken his example and will reiterate it yet once again for the human collective. When you are in dream state, you are in a house that you have never been in before, yet you already know what that house is. You know that this is your friend's grandparents' house. You know that they died several years ago. You know that they left the house to your friend, and this is the first time that you or your friend had entered the house. You know the conditions of the world around you, and you have not seen it or experienced it. That is your additional 6th sense in the lightest of its form after physical body. It does take time to tune into that body after death, because initially, after leaving your physical body, the consciousness instantly integrates with higher fractal. But the cap that cuts off that consciousness from most humans' perspective, that cuts away their self from the higher self, still remains within their energetic self. So after your 7th chakra, the energy is no longer integrated. So imagine a divider between yourself and the higher self. Each experience, each understanding puts that energy that is dividing and pushes up further into the higher fractal consciousness, meaning more of your true self is entered, meaning more of your 6th sense is integrated also. Your higher self is pure psychic. It knows all things. It connects with the oversoul, which connects with the earth, which connects to the solar system, which connects to the entire galaxy, which which connects to the universe, which connects to the multiverse, which connects to God brain and source, etc., all the way upward. And that becomes more and more part of you. That dividing line between the lower fractal consciousness, the persona entity, the egoic portion of consciousness is lifted into the higher self, and more is known, felt, and experienced.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
So the next thing I'm going to put under a theme. It's going to be a few questions in one, okay? Because I know it'll be easier for you to hit them in a more timely manner.
Yes, and we also must still speak up the construct of Kundilini and breathing after.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you need this to be the last question, or?
No, we are able to take this depending upon the length of time that it is required for us to answer. We'll depend upon if there are other queries.
Absolutely. Okay. So this one, when it comes to after death, I know I keep asking a lot of the afterlife questions. I don't think we can really talk about it without talking about the light, or the tunnel of light, that's very common even in many religions. So here are my questions underneath that, okay? So you can go over those. I'm wanting to know what or who that is, and what are the other methods of transfer to the afterlife plane. But there's also some concern I've seen in our community, some people worrying that it's an archon, soul trap kind of thing, which I don't feel like that's the case. But I thought it's definitely worth talking about, because people have decisions to make after life, So could you talk a little bit more about what this light or tunnel of light is, and address the topics that I mentioned and other methods of transfer too?
Yes, of course. First of all, the light that most humans describe after seeing is one of two things. If they are in an instant violent form of death and brought back quickly, the light is a biological, physiological response to separating brain energy from the soul energy. And that energy occurs within the perspective. But there is also light. That version is the tunnel of light, or the light at the end of the tunnel. It is a periscoped version, as is your visual perspective and internal third eye cortex.
Go into the pineal gland?
Yes, of course, and that is what is perceived by tunnel. If you only open your third eye and close your others, you would see in a cylindrical form in front of you, if your third eye is not trained. The more that you open it, the wider the periphery becomes. Just as with your physical eyes, if you have undeveloped or diseased eyes, you are only able to see directly in front of you. When you train your eyes or heal your eyes, you are able to see peripheral visions. Same that goes within third eye. So those who are untrained in third eye only see a cylindrical energy in front of them. And the light is that physiological response of first opening that third eye energy, both etherically and in the physical form. But many humans who perceive a light after exiting, it is not an external thing. It is an internal manifestation externally of the consciousness and the integrated self to the higher self. Cords that attach yourself to your higher self come out of your seventh chakra and go into the eighth chakra. At that point, this veil, that divider that we spoke of, is starting to dissipate. It becomes less loose. Imagine yourself inside of a tube, and that tube is divided by a layer of something that has no holes in it. It would block that energy completely from one part of the tube to the next. But start poking holes into that energy. More air that is in this part of the tube will go to more airs in this part, and more opens. The more that you go into your afterlife, the more holes that are being poked, and the higher that divider is moved. In that way, the manifestation of your first ability to connect with your eighth chakra in a full, resistantless way is that light, the energy of that creation. And of course, going between All of the densities are energetic barriers, and what many humans see after their own leaving of the physical body is the next energetic layer. And of course, what would divide layers of consciousness? Light itself, that is the form of all things that exist. We have always expressed that in every universe, in every galaxy, in every form of consciousness, regardless if a universe is physical, even to your perspective or not, what are the two things that exist in all things? Love and light. Light, yes, in a physical form appears as physical light, but wisdom, in its innate form, always incarnates and manifests itself as light in a physical sense. So if you were to look at wisdom with your third eye at a distance, it would appear to be a light. That are the measurements of lights that are occurring. Your connection to the higher self, your connection to your 8th chakra, and your connection to seeing wisdom for the first time with your true eyes. Now, the construct of the Acon system of soul traps, the reason why we will express this in this way are there some forms of relative truth within the idea of a soul trap. Although there is no soul trap, souls cannot be trapped. Consciousness is limitless in its raw form. When you are removed from your body and integrate fully back, you have the same ability as God itself, or the entire source energy. Although you might not manifest what God, creator or source can, you have that same ability. Because you do not have the amount of consciousness, you are not able to build entire universes, but you can construct lives. You can construct miniature, false versions of planets and create an entire system for yourself. You have that same ability.
Like a demiurge.
Yes, of course. Demiurge is a perfect, identical manifestational quality of a fully integrated being into their higher fractal consciousness. So in that way, you can never be trapped. You can never be removed from your consciousness. No one can take your consciousness away from you. But there are forms of what most humans call malevolent entities and higher density forms.
It's like a false light they put out?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It is a system of energy in where if you engage, the reincarnation occurs without your knowledge of how to reincarnate, without enough of your higher fractal being connected with so that you are able to plan. And this is what we spoke of earlier. Some humans who go life after life, instantly throwing themselves back into reincarnations, often have difficulty connecting with their true self. That energy is what feeds many of those malevolent forms. It helps them to not have to reincarnate again. Not in one physical reincarnative sense, but in a larger incarnation cycle. We use the draconian beings, for example, as they are the entities who are most known for this. But there are many like draconian beings in this way. These beings know that they are at the last place of physical existence. They are entering, after this part of their cycle, oneness. They will be not forced, but a natural part of the evolution requires that they go back into planetary consciousness, an entire whole planet of consciousness.
The draconians you're talking about?
Yes, of course. If they were to do this, they would feel oneness. They do not wish to be a new race of beings. They desire their identity of themselves. Therefore, they utilize human energy, the energy that is misaligned, the energies of fear, the energy of resistance, and use that energy to help their own incarnation cycle. And those who do create these soul traps, or the Acon energy of soul traps, are using similar constructs. They are saying, yes, you Christian over there, you want to come back to God, you have to come now. You cannot wait. They know that you will not re-enter the integrated higher fractal and you will not understand the nature. But most humans are aware of that in that moment. There are always indicators of that moment. If guides express to you that you must do something, they are not a pure light. They are not truly all guides. They might be entities that you have known. They might misunderstand the incarnation itself. But always, those who try to force you do not have that wisdom yet. They do not have the wisdom, or they are trying to intend for their own benefit and not yours. Know that your free will exists more so in that way when you are in between. As when you are in physical lives, you are still bound to the rules, regulations of physical reality, the universal rules of consciousness, the galactic rules of consciousness, the solar system rules, planetary, etc., all of that energy. You are still bound, but once released from the physical body, you have even more free will. So that is the way to know. Now, your last portion of the question was, we are not in alignment with the idea.
Before I move into that, I just wanted to kind of touch upon what you were saying.
Yes, of course.
I hate to use the word avoid, but just to make sure someone isn't going into a false light or trap. I know you said mostly people know that, but if there's any confusion, is there an affirmation or something that someone can say to their higher self directly that will help make sure that they're stepping into the right direction for them, so they're free from that energy trying to utilize their energy and vampire off of them?
Yes, of course. The idea behind the affirmation or the connection with that energy to know in the afterlife is, I am only going to experience what is best for myself. Knowing that, believing it, and integrating it into your afterlife experience, much as you must experience similar forms on Earth. Those of you who don't like resistance or confrontation or fighting, utilize your own affirmations. I will not meet those who intend to fight. I will not meet those who only desire resistant reactions. In that way, you still have to put in that work in the afterlife. But simply knowing the cues that entities who try to force their own will upon you, or if you say, I am not ready for the light, and they insist, that is how you will know which are which.
One of my guides also said when you're going to say the words, I am free, it's a very powerful... when you're free, you're not enslaved to anyone, and you're being free in the highest sense. So when you're saying that affirmation, I am free, not only are you releasing from the body, you're releasing resistance, and it helps you to see clearly that path, or to just kind of naturally flow to it. So that's what one of my guides suggested.
Yes, of course. Free. This is highly resonant with ourselves, yes. There was one portion of the question that in our own co-creation we veered from. We wish to return to that.
Sure.
What is the last portion of that question?
The last one, it's a little heavy, but because we have loved ones that may have gone through this, I wanted to get onto the topic of what happens to people who maybe commit suicide or had murder, or maybe that they died in war. Because I picked up that there are actually, for lack of a better word, healing programs for those that go through that, or different kinds of traumas and things that they have guides and angels there to help love and assist. I think there are levels of that for everybody that's offered. Nobody is forced to do it, but I feel like there's very special help, or I hate the word programs, but I think you get what I mean.
Yes,
for those that need that healing, even though if they incarnate, they're likely to pick back up in their next life and deal with whatever theme they had. But it's just, I have this feeling that there's some kind of integration or learning period and a lot of love. That's what I pick up, and I just wanted to know what that was about, and if that's true, if that's really common.
Yes, of course. First of all, we will specifically place, as we desire, to compartmentalize all of the energies that we've expressed. Those who have died in wars, those who have died violent murders or deaths, are in the same category of accidental deaths, such as those who are in car crashes. We have already covered that idea, so we place that to the side for the moment. Looking at suicide, this also is depending upon the way in which the suicide was induced. If suicide comes from a lack of being able to live in the Earth Collective with comfort, in the same way, emotionally and mentally, those who go into panic states or breakdowns, mentally, as humans call this energy is of a resistant nature. Those who commit suicide because they are in physical pain of illness, who know that they are going to die within weeks or months, and wish to no longer feel pain, and they are peacefully at sound mind and in control of their thoughts, emotions, etc., and are very resistant free in their experience, this is an entirely different idea. Those who would do so in sound mind will experience the same afterlife version as all other human beings. Those who commit suicide in that resistant frame will experience much as those who hold Christian feelings. It will greatly depend upon their beliefs. Those who are Christians will experience that form of separating or even minor hellish versions, not of devils that torture physically, which it can be an experience, but least likely.
And of their own creation, correct?
Yes, of their own validity, creation, etc. Yes. But those entities who do not know what will occur but cannot stand that feeling or energy of pain will carry that with them in the afterlife, just as those who are resistant in their physical lives, who have difficult energies and die accidentally. What you are in your moment of death does carry onward to that afterlife, regardless if you are resistant-less or resistance-filled. It is only the integration of what occurs next. Those who commit suicide are often bothered so deeply that they carry emotional trauma with them afterwards. They do have what you call programs, and we resonate with that construct of those that are most loved by them or most spend time with those entities as spirit guides internally first and externally second. The guides will work with him and try to surround them with as much peace, but only ability for those entities to engage as an openness within the entity themselves. If they believe they are damned, it can take multiple years before one of the guides are able to communicate with them directly. Even through those faces of the evil that we've expressed through religious dogma, even those entities can drop hints as reflections. There are no external entities who will torture another being in the afterlife. They are only manifestations, projections of what the internal perspective and energy of that entity project into their reality, and then have the opportunity to reflect with a real version of them after a certain time. Suicide in that way is one of the most resistant field experiences in that way after life. It does take longer time. Now, we take back into the warriors who die in war, depending upon their belief in the war, depending upon their own political constructs within, can also give those beings long-lasting experiences of desire to protect their land, their people, their king, their queen, their president, whatever nature of their deep beliefs. If a person is going in to combat others, desiring to kill others in the name of something larger than themselves, religion or political, those entities can experience even longer terms of separation than those who have suicidal tendencies. And it is only because of their energy being so focused in that reality that they continue. Now, we have experienced human entities that have died in war hundreds of years previously, still engaging in resistant forms of energy, still being negative beings towards others, still believing that as a disincarnate being they must protect their land, their king, not even understanding that the king that they fought for had died hundreds of years ago. Oh, wow. It is such an instinctual energy that becomes more prevalent than the mental, emotional, and energetic constructs within. Suicide can be that way, but most human beings who commit suicide because they are not able to handle physical life know that after they die, something will change, which gives them advantage over those who are so focused and driven in one direction that they continue. There are cases of beings who have not incarnated for thousands of years because they are still so close to what their lower fractal consciousness would be. And these are the highly malevolent beings that exist as human forms. Something will reach them eventually, but it often takes repetitive perhaps self-torture, if you look at it in this way, of their mental state over and over before that cycle breaks. This is very abnormal in the larger state of consciousness. The way that humans go into their afterlife is quite different from the majority of the galactic collective consciousness, and for the most part, the universal. This energy is something that shows the mental state of resistances within humans as they are physically in their own life. But all times, regardless if it is 1,000 years of self-implemented over-focusing in the physical reality, or whether it is instantaneous understanding and enlightenment after death, both of those energies do not mean much after that veil is broken, because of the understanding that that time experience was a useful experience in the soul, in the oversoul, and in the larger collective, but also that time does not appear linear, and that experience is not harmful to consciousness that is integrated. Then it is not something that is dwelled upon afterwards. It is only those in the moment of focus and self-perpetuated revisiting the lower fractal version that truly feels hard or difficult for the beings. But those beings themselves, once integrating and lifting that veil, feel no perhaps bad versions of thought processes, energies, or negative co-creational energies towards other entities. They understand it was self-created and move on accordingly. Now, we must speak quickly about the constructs of energy. We have talked deeply about Kundilini. We have talked deeply about breathing. We will bring together some of those forms now. What is a Kundilini energy? Yes, it is a serpentine form of energy that starts in the root chakra, goes up into your crown chakra and opens the energetic field. But this is not just the chakra system. The chakra system works much differently. The chakra energy goes into your crown from the etherical grid and into your root from the earth grid. They go through the chakras without interacting, igniting in the heart chakra, then redistribute themselves upwards and downwards. This system is not the same as Kundalini, yet it is hand in hand with your chakra energy. Your chakra's distribution of your energy through your chakras in order to experience non-physical energy into life, creating a physical loop of that energy and bringing both emotional energy and, for lack of better terms, downloadable energy from the non-physical to the physical state, while Kundalini is more so the energetic nature in which you yourself can utilize all of the chakra energy and bring up energy through yourself to activate certain components. It is one tool of many. Many entities are simply able to open up the chakra system and be that same version of enlightenment, can open their higher chakras, can perceive into the other realities. Breathing is a force of energy in itself. Breath from the external, breathe inward, physically oxygenates your lungs, which causes and creates biological, physiological reactions towards the feelings of openness, the feelings of being able to better and more steadily connect with your lack of mental state and open intuitive state. But also, the breath of energy is also a breath of life. Breathing is a part of what you call the air elemental energy as it is constructed within the physical form. All energies that are considered elemental consciousnesses are always able to react positively and negatively with all entities, depending upon the way that you receive this. All of these things we have covered and spoken of in great depth, but bringing those together, bringing the breath with the Kundalini energy. What we suggest first is understanding if Kundalini energy is something that you desire to utilize. Again, we have stated it is not the only way to open your higher chakras, but for many humans it appears to be the easiest way to open. What we suggest in technique version is starting with your root chakra to feel, to open up, to perceive, by first grounding yourself into the earth, then simply observing and feeling your root chakra. Feel the element of electricity, the element of fire, the element of water, the element of ether, wind, etc. Feel all of the elements within your root chakra. Then go into all of the other chakras going upwards, into your second, into your third, all the way until you reach your seventh chakra. After connecting with that energy, what we suggest is starting to push the energy field from your first chakra into your second. After that connects, going upwards and continuously connecting it. The breath only engages in this specific energetic field when you are consistently breathing. The breath works differently in each human being and works with different energies. Those deep forms of breath are the forms of yourself being an expansive consciousness, yourself pushing your consciousness outward. And this is utilizable for those who desire the effect of expanding during the Kundalini rising forms of energy. If you are more so focused on utilizing Kundalini so that you can know and focus directly on the chakra systems themselves, then using a heightened form of breathing, such as dragon breathing, is more appropriate. Each of these techniques are individual to each of you. Each of you can utilize these forms, but telling you what Kundalini energy is also going to be different for each and every one of you. Yes, there are meridian lines of energy within all human forms. There are the chakra systems themselves. But what activates Kundalini is the combination of what you would see as your chakra system, your etheric body, and your electromagnetic energy that is embedded within your physical body. The forming of all of those together traveled upwards through the chakra system is the way to open, to navigate, and to connect with that Kundalini form of energy. Utilizing the breath is igniting the air energy into your chakra system, then utilizing the igniting of the fire element. So as you are breathing in, utilize the visual construct of breath going into your root chakra as you are perceiving it. Feel the air elemental going all the way down. Ignite that chakra with the fire energy to utilize the more open form of that and to expand. As you are breathing deeply, that is the focus on expanding the root chakra. If you are breathing quickly, it is to focus in on the perspective, perception, and understanding of the root chakra. If you already know your root chakra, if you do not need to feel the investigative nature of your root chakra, use the longer breath. If you desire to know your root chakra deeply, utilize the quick breath. And we will utilize examples for both. The longer form of breathing, that is expansive in nature, is akin to this breath. Or even better for the super elongated forms, for the deepest form of expansion. In and out. while yet the shorter breath version, fire breathing, is more akin to this. We have spoken of this more deeply on our speaking of the breath energy. We have spoken more so in the Kundalini with our construct of Kundalini energy in meditation. Utilizing this new technique while learning to focus on your chakra after grounding, utilizing breath of preference, and visualizing the energy of the air, then ignite that fire energy in the chakra, perceiving that chakra, moving to your next, then going back down into your root, pushing up all of the energy while also engaging with your breath and fire. We'll work within opening as much of the Kundalini as possible within the human experience. The number one thing that you can understand about both the Kundalini energy and the chakras, that one thing is the same with both. In order to connect fully with each of those energies, both using your chakras during Kundalini or just knowing your chakras by itself, that resistance all starts at the emotional level. If you are resistant about how you feel safe in your environment, how you feel connected to the earth, or if you are at the place you need to be, then of course resistance resides in the first chakra. If you feel resistance in your form of sexuality, in your form of masculine versus feminine, or in your form of drive, of the, perhaps as you would say it, more creative forms, then yes, resistance will live in your second chakra. Sense of self, the perspective of linear time, the ability to either live in the now or not live in the now, is resistant in the third, the heart to your connection to all things, your love, your self-love, and your ability to see the link between yourself is in the heart. The throat chakra, wisdom, communication. If you're resistant in that region, also resistant, you have to clear the resistance in your chakras in order to fully feel that extended nature of your Kundalini. Yet, if you are not desiring to open the chakras through Kundalini, there are many other forms that we have spoken of, that we have shared, and that we have taught within our Patreon Co-Creative Energy. If there are any questions for this construct, we will take your queries now.
I do, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so this is an old throwback. I don't really think we have post 2012 of our newly growing 5D bodies that we don't. I just feel like this may not be an issue, but since it may have been talked about, people who are studying Kundalini, me included, I had a Kundalini book that was written, and they said, well, their guidance was, don't practice Kundalini alone. You must have a teacher, or you could spontaneously combust because the energy is so intense. And it's rare, but it can happen, or it can push up a lot of stuff and cause trauma without a teacher. My feeling is this kind of is moot to now, for the majority of us. I want to know where that came from, why that was said, and what your suggestion is for those of us that are practicing Kundalini with our guides rather than a physical teacher.
Yes, of course. Those things were once perceived as true because of the nature of most who have felt a full version of the Kundalini. Emotionally, yes, it does open great portals of trauma. It opens great portals of energy. And yes, you are correct, more so before your fourth density version than previous third density version. Also, heat, the fire, the breath that we've expressed, is a physical manifestation of your lifting the energy, igniting that fire energy. That is why it was perceived. Yes, as you go forward with that energy now, there are no concerns in that way. Only that of the emotional clearing that all of you are either doing yourself or being forced by the evolution of your soul to do in that way. The energy, as we've expressed, is moot for this time.
Yes.
We will take one last query before disconnecting, as Rob's physical body must relieve itself.
Oh goodness, that's so many. Well, not so many. I had 3 more after this. I'm trying to feel around for what. One of them has different parts to it, so I don't know if you'd have the time to go into that. But I guess I'll go into this one. If you have more time, if it's okay, I'll go into that. So I'll just go for the simpler one for now. So what about connecting to the higher chakras that often aren't talked about, and the higher self through Kundilini? So going beyond the 7th chakra to the higher self, the higher chakras.
Yes, of course. Now, in the practice of Kundalini, it is only opening the tracks that are within your body.
Gotcha.
The connecting to the higher fractal energy is that in which we have called the exploration of your entirety of the chakra system. If that is your desire, in simply perceiving, connecting to, and understanding the purpose of those energies can be enough for humans to explore their 8th and 9th chakras. Most humans will not pass their 8th chakra, as it is more difficult to integrate that amount of consciousness to do so, but you can still perceive the 9th form of chakra, the connection to that energy, and utilization of that form. We will take your next query as our last.
Okay. I'm going to try to condense this one, and whatever you can answer, okay?
Yes, of course.
So, sex or sexuality is often been used as a tool for Kundalini, in my understanding, especially with certain branches of Tantra. But then there's also non-sexual versions of Kundalini raising. So I wanted to talk about how people can use sex as a tool for Kundalini, be it female with a male with a male, female with female, poly, or, with other extra dimensional beings, like angels, ETs, or guides, self. Like I said, I know it's like a lot, but I know you can condense it. And then the non-sexual Kundalini raising through using things, for example, what I picked up is like art, music, dance, things that help to raise that vibration and free up that serpentine energy. Are you able to quickly kind of go into that?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
First
good.
of all, sexuality is utilized as a tool, as it is one of the most explosive releases of energy in a human form of experience. In fact, because of the evolution of your consciousness being cut short, many of you still exist directly in your 2nd chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Being a powerful release of energy, it allows energy to push all of the chakra energy upwards when you are utilizing the Kundalini, regardless if it is male to female, male to male, female to female, or by yourself. Utilizing the onking system of energy can be of great form. This energy will redistribute your orgasmic 2nd chakra release that often releases out of you, either downward through the female genitalia or directly horizontally for the male genitals, and the energy be redistributed up into your heart and brought back as a looping system.
What is onking? Can you explain that?
Yes, of course.
Those that haven't heard it.
Yes. At your moment of orgasm, if you are bringing the energy from your sacral chakra, the 2nd chakra, bringing it up into your heart, allowing that energy to redistribute itself, going out of the heart directly, and then going either into your heart from the back area, or releasing it through your crown and releasing it from the heart into the actual symbol of an onk. And if you are to look in your internet collective at the onk energy, you will understand the redistribution of energy, allowing that to go into your heart, into your crown, and redistributing from your heart out in a looping way into your back of the heart and front of the heart. That energy will bring back the orgasmic energy back into your body and reverberate itself, which will then allow all of the energy from the second and third to push upward, the third to fourth, and redistribute itself. So utilizing that during orgasm time can help utilize the redistribution if you are getting stuck, energetically speaking, below the second chakra and heart chakra. If you are working with extra dimensional beings in which you are not physically able to interact with, and you are sexually connected to those beings, then what we suggest in time of utilization of your Kundalini is bring your second chakra energy up into your heart and let it settle there as the sexuality and the feeling of love intensifies. That will help push up the energy past the heart into the higher chakra forms. The utilization of non-sexual energy is all from the heart-centric base. If you are not sexual, then utilizing love upon its own self, for its own volition, is an extraordinarily powerful way to utilize, to gather as much love from your mental state, your emotional, your chakra system, and your auric field, and allow that to settle in your heart before pushing past the heart. Will do great work for you within this.
Beautiful.
Yes, now, as you are all aware, time's come to its end, but before disconnecting, we wish to express to all of you that not only are we grateful to have co-created with you, that all of us have the opportunity to grow within that co-creation. We congratulate you for your growth, and we thank you for the growth. Kalina, as always, it is a great pleasure to have co-created yet again.
Oh, always a pleasure, Aridif. Thank you so much for tonight. I knew it was going to be amazing tonight.
Yes,
and
of course.
It always is, but thank you so much. We could really feel your excitement and your love, and we really love and adore you. And there was a message for you earlier that I didn't get a chance to say before you go.
Yes, and as you look for the message, we wish to also express to each and every one of you, including yourself, Kalina, not only are all of you loved, but we also love you.
Yes, we love you too. Thank you.
Yes.
I can't find, where was it?
Even if we are not able to react to the energy, if you are to read it after we disconnect, we are still quite with Rob and yourself.
Found it. Augustine wanted to give you his personal love to tell you hello. So I didn't get a chance to do that. And so he really expressed the desire to say hi to you.
Yes, of course. And as you are aware, not only are you loved, but we love you also. We will bid you all adieu for this evening. You are loved. We love you.
Libby. We love you too. You are loved.
Adieu.
Adieu. Hi, sweetie. How you feeling?
All right.
Long night. I think that's one of the longest times you channeled, isn't it?
Yeah, I was getting close to a little over an hour and a half at least, right?
You okay? You can help
I just gotta use the restroom real quick.
I figured you did.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll be back in a minute. Kalina will talk to you till then.
Yeah, I'll chat with you guys. What did you guys think? Wasn't that amazing?
Oh.
He's still grounding. I know there's a little lag, so I'll wait. Aw. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed tonight. It was amazing too with the death and afterlife questions. I would write questions, and then as I'd be writing them, he'd be answering them already. So Aridif's really good about that. So I'd be like, okay, can't ask that one. Okay, can't ask that one. So that was really, really cool. So I'm not seeing it yet, so there must be a little bit of a lag time. But yeah, I really liked it. Kundilini is something I was really interested in when I was younger, and now it just feels like, I want to get back into that, because I remember when I read the book, I think I got the book when I was even as young as, it was between 16 and 18. And it was like really warning, that I would need a teacher, or it could be dangerous. And I sense that there could be some potential truth to it. But then after 2012, when I started really feeling, it wasn't like overnight, but I could really feel the energetic shift. And I just felt that there wasn't a danger of kind of overshooting the energies. I don't know if that makes sense. I remember once I met an entity in my dream state, and there was this understanding that this energy was so high that if I looked directly at it, at this being, that it could just blow my energy, almost like catch on fire. And I don't know if that's a literal thing, but that was the feeling. But now I feel like we've come to this development where we can interact with these higher level beings and not have to worry about taking in too much too soon, if that makes sense. So it almost feels like there's some kind of stability that has been reached in us. So I definitely want to talk more to Aridif about that, what that was about. But I don't know if it was really literal or, what that was about, but it truly felt like, and maybe it was also because I was a lot younger, I was still in a developing body. So, but even now I feel like kids now and then me when I was a kid quite some time ago, it is different. Like I can feel the energy of the baby developing in my womb right now. And this baby's just different, just, it's amazing. So it's like so many of the rules have been broken, and it's just really beautiful. I'm really excited, and it's just very interesting for the majority of us that are listening. It's like we've been transmuting, and our bodies have been changing, and it's been a bit uncomfortable, and we're still going through a lot of changes and morphing, but it's really beautiful. It really is. I'm very happy that we can have more access to love, light, and knowledge than ever before.
Heck yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dee Dee, I'm not sure what you mean by who came and got me, but we're glad you're here. So.
Yeah, guys, as you guys can imagine, I'm pretty ungrounded still.
He's still grounded.
I'm actually chewing on a piece of cheese as we're talking. I'm going to call tonight, guys, because tomorrow we're going to do the same thing. Before we go to bed, we'll let you know on Patreon what the link is tomorrow, and we're either going to do 2 tomorrow or 1 tomorrow night and 1 the night after.
Yeah.
For your guys' Q&A for December and this month. If you haven't got your questions in, go back to the previous Patreon post. Look up the links to the question. It'll say like monthly webinar question time or something clever like that. And then go ahead and ask your questions. And we'll draw those at the end of both of those. Whoever is in the room, in the chat room, if your name gets drawn, you'll get a chance to ask Treb or Aridif 15 minutes worth of questions.
Yeah. Hey, is this Susan, our Susan, that, you know what I mean by our Susan, I think.
Hi, Susan. Yes.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes, yes.
It is so good to see you. Oh my gosh, poor Susan has not been able to get in for so long. I'm so happy.
It was me who sent you that email.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know, because I was like, I don't know a DD, but I'm glad she's here.
I'm glad all of you guys are here. We love you guys so much. We can't wait to see you tomorrow too. I'm signing off, guys, because I still got to eat a little ground and get everything settled up that way, and then still be able to get you guys set up with the Patreon stuff too. So I love you guys very much. Big hugs, big loves.
Yes, very big loves. We love you guys very, very much. Cheenie, our cat, loves you guys. Baby in the belly loves you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And Treb and Diff and all my guys. This is a big old love fest over here.
Oh, it is.
So.
We love you guys so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow for sure, and we'll let you know whether it's just tomorrow night or tomorrow day and night.
Yeah, it just kind of depends how the prego lady is feeling, right? Yeah.
If she's feeling up to it earlier. All right.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sometimes I have these weird napping. Gosh, I don't know how pregnant women that are having to work a strict schedule do it. I mean, kudos to them. But maybe because I'm 40, plus it's winter, and all that jazz. I'm grateful that we can work our time around. So thank you for being so understanding and patient, and send me, visualizations of extra energy so we can do it, because I'm actually really, really excited. I'd love to be able to do both of them, and we'll have maybe 3-4 hours in between to rest before the next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna catch up on everything and have a blast tomorrow.
Absolutely, guys.
I think most likely we'll be able to do both tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll definitely give her a whirl.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we love you. Sorry, cut it short. Just a little. Got to get back to earth a little. And I'm glad you got the email, Susan. I hope it was soon enough that you got to see it.
We'll keep the link open, and you should definitely
be able to watch it.
We do ramble on for at least half an hour at first, but
oh yeah.
We like to think we're pretty adorable when we ramble, so I don't know if it's up to you guys.
We'll see, right? All right, guys.
Really, really great tonight. Thank you, everybody,
Thank
so
you, guys.
much. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, guys. Love ya.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.